All right, so welcome to season 2, episode 4 of Emotional Think Tanks. And got a new good for you. It's the threshold of change. So everybody that's here has already experienced some of that, not just this week, but the last couple of weeks. Okay. And so this came through like a month ago. We might do meditations or dream or basically when stuff comes through. And sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes it's like, well, what do I apply that to? And build from there. So the threshold of change is something that came up as a tool. Some of you may have seen my demonstration with the cube to create an awareness of duality, perspectives, or points of view, that kind of thing. I wanted another kind of visual, interactive demonstration to assist people in understanding what's going on. So that's kind of the tone in September tonight. But I want to go into a little bit of some of the groundwork that makes emotional think tanks work. So first and foremost, my title Wellesley. I am a shaman and many other things that we're talking about. Mostly, I'm a facilitator of change. Yes, so it's actually only a single type of networks. So people come to me, their lives aren't the way they want them to be. They see that I have some insights and we share and find common goals. I mentor anywhere from 3 years old up to 78, I think is now this one. So I'm fairly flexible in that regard. But I've invested about $100,000 in different learnings, body language, and events planning training, my shamanic practices, and nonprofits and things like that. So I believe that world peace is possible within our lifetimes, and it isn't just like a big concept. There's actual practical solutions we can do as individuals and communities like that. So there's a little bit about me. What's the next? Who are you? What do you do? Yes. You want to go? They got the Huh? What? Whoever wants to start.
Let's see. Do class, tryouts, and junior survey on monitor.
Yes. You can talk about it.
And pretty catchment.
You do all kinds of things, stabs, and various other spiritual work tools.
Stone and crystal back.
Cool. Good for now. Okay, cool. Who are you? What do you do?
My name's Steve. Currently, I'm just by myself.
Cool. Who are you? What do you do? How's that feel? It took a little bit to get to it right. Good. Yeah, because only inspiring others to work for change. It's not big stuff. Good.
We also need to get that.
What are those things?
I have an email. I have, an iPad. I am trying to bring female energy to the world in politics, and I am
Very cool. We've gone over a couple of times, just for people watching that don't know. Do you want to explain the concept of it?
Yes, I feel people's emotions almost as strongly as they do sometimes. I'm Megan, a twin sister, which I think where a lot of that stemmed from, because we were always tuning to each other. So people always ask us, like, oh, can you talk? Like, you guys read each other time? And it's like, no, but we can literally like shift that.
Yeah.
Like she feels my anxiety, especially if we're physically close.
Yeah.
And that's kind of played over to how I interact with other people too, because I can feel people's intentions and I can feel a lot of things overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that I focus on is filter and cost. I am adopted, and it's an intense way to think. Especially if you don't know that there's other people out there like it, that are like you, that you know that. If you don't have tools to ground and calm the center and create your own space and sanctuary and the rest of these things. So that's a big, almost exclusively I work with that house in some form or another. So I'm glad I did that.
I got a race today, too. So I will be healing with you more.
Woo!
The stars are what?
Huzzah! No much for this. So the reason we go around is while I'm facilitating emotional think tanks, this is a community effort. I don't have all the answers. I've got a lot of them, but so do the rest of you. I haven't lived your lives. I don't know your perspectives, your insights, your journey. So if anything comes up that you feel that you get to share, please do so. Because this is as much for the people who physically attend as the people who are watching online. One thing, we want to set some ground rules for the space. So I recommend that you manage your communication devices from a silent, from out of reach, do something along those lines. Because as we start working with energy, people tune in and they're like, ooh, I need to call this person 20 times. So allow yourself to be in that space. Become very good. Yes. Do it. Good. Another thing is this is a sanctuary that's created energetically, but also by the attendees. So the way that the sanctuary works, in my description of it, is that we all agree to respect each other and our own personal journeys, our own personal stories. So if somebody has something to share, and they're not necessarily going to get the space that you go at, allow them to be in that space and share whatever they get to share. So can everybody agree to respect each other, at least for the next hour and a half? Show of hands. Yes? Awesome. Great. Hey, really, it's all good. All right, so change. Just when I say the word, what comes up? What? Spouted chin.
Okay, this is just weird.
Or is it?
So, do you work with teaching at all?
I've played with this a bit, yeah.
So this has been like my graphics course for the past 3 years, probably.
Okay.
And I have to do it. And I rolled one the other day, and I didn't even get all the way through it, or whatever it was. One is wise to turn the conflict over to the jurisdiction of the sage, or just partner.
Ta-da!
Oh.
You Beautiful. Well, and that's key too, is the dialogue that you two have before. Change it can be very difficult by yourself. Very necessary sometimes to do by yourself, but remembering and being vulnerable are keys to making that change actually happen. And another reason that we declare sanctuary is so that whoever chooses can be as vulnerable as they get to be in this space so that they can bring about the changes that they get to happen. So those were some of the things: difficulty, uncertainty, vulnerability, whatever. Memory, parallelism, disgrace. So, what are some of the good things that come about from change?
Life, motivation.
What else?
Experience.
Okay. Expand on experience.
I feel that each change that one goes through strengthens them because they get experience, whether it's positive or negative.
Okay. So there's probably some wisdom with that. Some strength. And I think the rest to go with that as well. You've been through so much, so what might seem insurmountable to others is a few things. Yeah.
Everybody on most in common.
Okay.
Patient can't have change.
Drink that.
That's the spine of it. All right. So we all know what change looks like. And we know what it feels like, right? We know when something's about to change in our lives, good, bad, or otherwise. We know it's coming. We feel it. We sense it. We experience it. We get all sorts of signs that it's coming our way. So, I'm going to pass around some paper, some pens, and kind of like we did earlier, but expanded a little bit. Find 6 things, 6 words, 6 energies, 6 experiences, whatever they are, that define who you are right now. Six things that define who you are right now, or 6 things, 6 words, 6 somethings that this is who I am. I'm an artist, whatever. And whatever words you choose are going to be perfect for you. And if we get to have more clarity as a group to understand where you're coming from, maybe that's good. But these 6 words are going to resonate in your soul, in your essence of who you are. This is maybe even words that other people use to describe you. That really ring true to who you are. And for right now, just work on 6. There's obviously infinitely more, but the idea is to just get those 6 out there. Everybody doing all right on their 6? Would you like assistance getting up to 6? Would you like assistance getting lower than 6? Good. Okay. And the reason I do 6 is sponge geometry, but it also, it's a bit of a push. If I said 3 things, or if I said 10 things, there would be a different vibe to it. But when the threshold change model came through, it was 7 aspects. So it's the self and then the 6 other aspects. So everybody got their 6? Okay. And if you get stuck a little bit, read through either out loud or in your head ones that you do have. You'll probably spark another one that kind of goes with it. And it doesn't have to be distinct individual things. They can be offshoots of another thing. They can be an additional energy to who you are. If you get all the way through who you are, you can go into, to get up to 6, who you'd like to be. Kind of the next step of it, just to go in that area of 6. Good? Oh? Okay. Feels good. Gals. The beauty of this is that it's the energy, the resonance of it. And I've been dealing a lot more in energy than absolutes or form. Jamie and I have had several discussions about the feminine versus the masculine. Feminine being the essence, masculine being the descriptive, the vessel. What this essence is made of. So, yeah, it can be either or. Masculine, feminine. It can be abstract, noun, verb, adjective, whatever. Key is just that you resonate, you really feel the energies of who you are. Good? So, anybody want to share the energies of who they are? Not all of it, at least a couple of them. Okay. Cool. And you resonate with all of those. And I'm sure other people do describe it too, right? Okay. So, anybody else? Awesome. So each one of these has a specific resonance. Whether it's who you are, who you want to be, who you feel you are, whatever else, this defines who you are. So is anybody right now open to doing an experiment with their 6 to define who they are? Yes? Yes? Cool. Also yes? Awesome. So what I want you to do is you want to go ahead and hold on to that one. Where's your picture? Do you have all of it, or is it there? Ta-da! Well, we need more. What I'd like you to do is each one of the things, either way, each of the things that you wrote down, go ahead and make some spaces between them on this piece of paper, because you're actually going to tear this piece of paper up so each one of them are separate. Yep. So the one that you wrote on before, keep that solid. This one you're actually going to tear up with each of the aspects. So are each of your aspects on separate pieces of paper? So what did it feel like? Write them on a piece of paper and tearing it out.
Notice how angry, right off.
Okay. You have to rewrite it. Okay. So anger is a bit destructive. Okay. What did you notice?
I was scared I was never going to hurt.
Okay. Something as simple as writing something down on a piece of paper and ripping it. So these are tools to tune into what's going on in your space. What did you experience? Okay. You didn't want to rip them up. You wanted them all to be in one spot. Okay. What about you? Okay. So why is it important to be careful with these pieces of paper? Okay. So a little bit on the planning side of things. So, what's that? No, keep going with it. You got it. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to destroy or ruin what describes you, what defines you, right? And you certainly don't want anybody else to know your stuff, right? So even this simple exercise tunes you into how much each of those things are a part of who you are. Because you saw yourself, you felt yourself in that piece of paper as you were looking it up. Now, granted, this is kind of it's a very emotional, but also very logic-based approach, because when you tear the paper, your first tear versus your last tear are naturally going to be different, usually. The word that you start with, the words that you wrote and had to rewrite, those are all going to tell you something about your own relationship with that word, that energy. Even the things around you as yourself. So use this as a tool whenever you feel called to. Just this part of the exercise. So the next part of the exercise is, we're not quite ready. So on that first piece of paper, where you've got the 3 or the 6 written down there, go ahead and define who you want to be, but aren't just yet. And that can include aspects of the first 6, if those are aspects you all want to, or they can be 6 brand new aspects. But just tune into who do you want to be, or who do you wish you were, or who do people think you should be if you want to go that route. But just allow yourself to flow those words however they suit you. And then same as this one, go ahead and tune into what comes up for you. Because this is as much an emotional exercise as it is a mental exercise. Yep. Yeah, if you've got aspects of you that you want to keep around and they define who you are or who you want to be, by all means, hold on to them. Do these ones flow easier or more difficult than the first ones? Easier. Pretty much easier for everybody? No? Okay. So, for those of you that did flow easier for it, why was it easier?
For 6 seconds, and I don't want.
Okay. And it's not something that you like to do very often. Okay. Do you get feedback from other people when you do your own work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not even that, you know,
Give you feedback whether you want it or not. Okay.
I'll tell them the story about
Anybody else want to share the ones why it was make it easier the second list?
Well, the last two on that first list kind of were what I wanted to be more opportunity. So those just came out as value.
Okay. Anything you want to share? Was your first list easier than your second list or not?
First list.
Okay. So why was it more? Or why was the second one easier? Whichever way you want to put it. Okay. Okay. Maybe you don't necessarily feel that you're doing that. Okay. So Jane, your second list was actually more difficult than the first one. So what is the experience? Okay. Okay. Well, with the dissonance, you're feeling that threshold of change, right? Okay. And that's why we want to do these experiments, these interactions, kinesthetically, bodily, emotionally, as well as logically, because we're at least those two aspects. I see this as sixfold intelligence is at least sixfold. Is the way to describe a lot of things. So we get to honor that aspect of ourselves, the emotional, and the intellectual, and the spiritual, and all the other aspects of self. So allow ourselves to spend time with ourselves. And something as simple as writing something down and tearing up a piece of paper. If you only did that part of this, you could find your own insights from it. So, same as you did with that first one, and if you get to have more paper, go ahead and write them down on a separate sheet. Everybody got a second sheet? Good? Okay. So, the aspects of yourself that you'd like to be, or the aspects of yourself that you aren't quite yet. Do whatever you want. You know the beginning and end result, so. But isn't that fun that you asked? More feedback. Now, it looks like you've learned from the first one, and you're doing the second one a little bit different. Mistake according to So this one's a little bit a difference in what we're used to. Now, I'm sure most of you sent a letter before. And that would be pretty cool to put it in act. this is perfect. There are no wrong ways to do it. That's why the instructions are simple, but the experience is what really taking away from it. And if you have more pieces of paper, that's fine too. Ready for the period, whatever you choose to do. Everything you did. So, in just the difference between the energy, the 6 things defined who you are, and writing that down and ripping that up versus the second time around writing it down and ripping it up, what do you experience differently from it? Okay? So you're planning ahead. Okay? Okay. Do you trust yourself a little bit more? Because you've done this before? Like 5 minutes ago. Okay.
My first year was almost moved to this next year. Just like my heart.
Well, that's a heck of a thing to say.
The giant wheels
Uh-huh. So, with each of these, you found something out. It's a pretty simple exercise. So, who's ready to go the next step? Everybody? Awesome. So, I only have enough cups for you to do it one at a time. But I want you to put your first set in here and leave the middle cup in. That's your essence. That is all those 6 things calling who you are. So when you do it, it'll look a little bit like that. Here's these. Another reason why I use that one. The flower like goodness and those stuff. Says that it's not nicely. Okay, so what did you experience putting the
Some of them getting better than others. And like the first one, like,
That's a huge thing to realize, right? One apart, you keep it all together. Okay? So what's that first one? So the power got a little powerful. Starting to flash the things apart. Okay? What about the one that slipped in the easiest? What one was that? Okay? So just that experiment with these qualities of yourself. So you're a really powerful warrior. Pretty huge, powerful warrior. Okay? What about your other ones? Okay? Now Thailand, what does that mean?
I would go on summer months. And I was, I think I want to be there. I don't know, tell me what to do back here. He's letting it come through, and I try to hold on to it. It's just,
Okay? This is perfect. This is exactly what we want. Is this emotional energy, this emotional awareness to come through.
When I was there, I didn't have anyone but myself. I had certain family that was kind of creative. I was alone all the time, like thinking, talking to myself, and shrinking myself.
So this is developmental learning. Awesome. So would you like a way to keep all of that together? Okay, so on the screen. What is that screen? Okay. Well, I'd like to take notes on what the screen is. So go ahead and write whatever notes you get to the screen that holds everything together, or however you choose to put it. Because it isn't just the screen, is it? It's what the screen does. And I don't know if you saw, but I can tear that screen apart pretty easy. You could too if you want. So it isn't what it's made out of. It isn't the size of it or who gave it to you or the rest of that. It's what it represents. So in full-tech philosophy, what you just built, including that string, would be called the isle of the tonal. The tonal is everything that defines who you are. And tonal is T-O-N-A-L. So the tonal is who you are. So it encompasses the center cup, which is all the undefined parts of you. It's your experiences and everything else, plus the 6 things that support that. Cool. So what else do you experience with that screen? Okay. Right. And does it really have to be all that strong to hold those stuff together? Okay. Good. Okay. Again, just whatever else you can have on it. I really appreciate how emotionally flowing and available everybody is to be open to this experience, because that's how it works. It is being essentially trusting, being vulnerable, being open to change. This is where the true essence of Tank comes through.
I just brought people.
You didn't just bring tables, you brought love.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, come on in.
I'm not.
Right, so come on in.
Okay.
It's all good. She's love.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
It's all good. Good. Okay. Go ahead and put the screen around. Okay. So you know,
It's not like everything tight, but it's
okay. So what would be able to make that the way that you want it? Okay. But if you break apart that thing that held everything together, what are you going to experience then? Okay. So is it going to make trust? Okay. So if you want to break it apart and retie it, then by all means. taking minutes on your observations. Yep. So go ahead and draw out your pieces of paper. Okay, and that screen is yours. Okay. Whatever you get to do with that, I'll leave it with France, and that screen is yours.
Okay, love you. Thank you.
And then any insights, awarenesses that come to you, feel free to document them. You want to go ahead? Okay. So you get the general idea of it? Okay. And as you're putting those in, you know, okay. Okay. Anything else? What about that couple fish related from that? Yeah, that one. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So what do you experience with those cups in that early time? Ones that were in easier? Okay. Did you know which ones you put them in?
I saw the two of them and I turned them over some.
How did you do that?
But I don't.
Yeah. So they're set aside. So you kind of got yin yang opposites on each side. Okay. These are taking notes on the experience. Good. Okay. So, how do you feel about those cups being on there? Okay. So this string here can actually hold those cups really tight. Can it? So what did that do? Doing that. So it's on the bottom. Okay. So you want to take the notes all your experience about that? Okay. So the size of string that I gave you is different from what I gave. Yeah. Okay. And then, yes. So your configuration would be what the first was. If you wanted the string to go, but you're perfectly comfortable with the things in the name. So why did you put one together? All right. Okay.
Also, because I tried.
Okay. So when you put that on, wrap it around twice, go on this line, right? Okay. Take everything else again. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of what we do. Yeah. Spiritual trauma.
Oh, you know, if I'm not even so that was the corner of it.
Yeah. Sure. Perfect. Yes. You saw it.
This summer, I grew up along the wall.
So these are two things.
In Buddhism, like, it's not at the time that there's like period. But I just grab carefully. Okay.
Okay, so those pieces of paper and that string, we can go ahead and pass it on. So let's start. So when you put everything on top of everything, sometimes it gets stuck. This is just more school, there's no judgments. For me, you can do all the judgments on yourself that you like, because they will provide you insight. And this kind of experimentation, this kind of awareness, the reason that I'm using fairly simple mechanisms is because I truly believe that this is possible. I feel that the tools that are I feel that the tools that are necessary to be willing to change are already very available to us. So, complete. Okay. So you chose to put yours in cups a little bit. Why did you choose that? Okay. Okay. Well, and just from this distance, I make an observation about the tears on your other fingers versus your sit-through. So is there a relationship to heal there? But has it been pretty jagged, pretty raw? No? Okay. So, that's a possible point of insight. Sometimes it's just a trigger. Yeah, absolutely. So, are you comfortable with your configuration when you have that? Okay. And do you feel you get to take any notes on the experience so far? Okay. So, hi. Welcome. Is it screen? Grab yourself. There is Michael. And we introduced ourselves and we have a little bit about who we are. So just go ahead and let everyone know about who you are.
Okay. And I was for all animals, and I didn't really think interested in deeper how all the different aspects of our being are
So we've all had an agreement to respect each other and have equity presence in any space. Does that work for you?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what we're doing right now is we're actually experiencing what is called the threshold of change. As a sense of highlight velocity. So we have one bit real quick. Yes? Good cheese. All right. There it is. Whoops. Apparently still works. So, right? Not yet. Yes. In my body, absolutely. All right, so on one sheet of paper, go ahead and write down 6 things, energies, entities that define who you are right now. There may be stuff that comes up, maybe even the description that we use, things that really resonate with you. So go ahead and write those down on who you are. And then when you complete that, go ahead and write down who you'd like. The same 6, or it can be different 6 aspects, it usually is. If you have aspects in the description of who you are now and who you'd like to be, then you can go ahead and bring those over to me. Cool. Okay, so what did you experience there? Okay. Okay. Cool. So that's an awareness tool, right? Awesome. So do you feel like you're complete? Okay. So what happens when all those cups are empty? Okay. Fine. Anything else? Okay. Feel free to take any notes on stuff that comes up for you right now. Because that's what we're doing this for. Because we want to know what this experience is. Because this isn't just cups and paper and string. This is us. This is us exploring and experimenting with who we are, how we find ourselves, the things that are meaningful to us. And as you'll notice, each of you already have had a unique experience with it. For now. Good. So feel free to do this on your own. Solo cups. Doesn't even have to be solo cups, they're just convenient, you knock them over, it's no biggie. Piece of paper, string. Find any other way to do a similar experiment with yourself, new ways to experiment. I'm working on an abundance economy to support world peace, so anything that you can do to contribute flows into the abundance economy, which is the scarcity economy. So it's about empowerment, it's about self-awareness, it's about exploring who you are. That's the essence of it. So I appreciate you sharing. That was very powerful. Okay. So as Andy is sorting his 6 out, and now, have you got your first 6 down? 4. Okay. Cool.
We're looking in the.
Yeah, you'll put on individual pieces of paper the first 6 when you come up here, and then we'll pass the cups around so you can experiment with that. Okay. You're 7 cups. Okay.
I keep watching how everyone else does that, I'm like, I would never do that.
Right? Which is the beauty of the diversity of the people that shut up. Yeah. Did anybody here so far do it wrong? I did. Yeah. Cool. So, did you fill all 7 cups?
Yes.
Okay. What is bridging the gap between those two?
Space maker is what space.
Okay. Okay. So what are you experiencing with this cups right now? No. Absolutely nothing? Complete void? Okay. So,
What is it? Where is it?
You
must bring your kids.
Those must come every time. Or the content.
so says the left eyes. Okay, so do these cups and pieces of paper represent you? Okay. Is this a silly experiment? Silly. Okay. What would be a more fitting representation for you? Song on flute. Okay. And what does a song on flute represent that these cups came? Voice. Okay. And what is unique about your voice? Okay. Cool. That sounds great. It does great magic. It involves other people in your space. Okay. Did you do that on purpose? Did you place the other ones purposefully?
I'm trying to
So this alignment was planned. Okay. So does that work for you usually? Impromptu? Okay. So it doesn't have to be a whole lot of thought put into it.
No.
Just trust yourself like that. Okay. So I could tie it out in the string for you, so if you want me to. Could be nice for that. So what do you want to do with that string? And that, again, why do we do the things we do? Why do we react the way we do? Okay?
You can ask them what
But it sounds exactly like you meant it. And hilarious, which you're good at. Okay? So are all 7 of your cups filled right now? Okay? Are we going to stay that way? So what did you learn about your first time trying it versus this time?
That's see clearly
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing.
So gain perspective.
That's story.
Cool.
All right. Yeah.
Could be because he likes orders. He likes freedom. How do you feel about that?
Let's see.
So what are you learning about that string not being tied to it?
Good time.
Okay.
Good. Okay, well done.
You feel any different with the fourth time than you did with the first? Was it easier for all of you when I defined your boundaries for you?
Well, I'm trying to make a space.
Okay?
What I like to do is space.
Okay. So already you know why it's not doing that, and what can be done to make it happen, right? Okay. So do you need it to be a certain way before you're complete? Well, while he's doing this, sir, you all have to stop by shop.
Okay, well,
Okay, for where? Okay, so you're honoring his path. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, then. Okay. What are you going to do? So you put the whole thing upside down. Could we learn from that? Sometimes the instructions we're given, sometimes the tools we're given, are completely upside down. Or incomplete. Good? Feel free to write down any notes that you feel we get straight on it. Okay. Again, the screen of paper is yours. Up to yours. So you get the general essence of it?
No.
Okay. All right, and that's perfect. So the cups are representations of who we are. And by defining ourselves in 6 different aspects, we find out those things that hold in the essence of who we are. Generally, the central cup is empty because it's flowing and it's adaptable. But the other 6 cups are full of our values or other particular aspects of who we are. And by choosing what we put into those cups, the order that they come in, and even the configuration of the cups themselves, how easily or difficultly something goes in and doesn't, we are reflecting on ourselves. Cool. Okay, so go ahead and put your first 6 in the cups. Okay. So when you came in, what makes these ones tight? Why did you choose that?
Well, at the time I discovered that we were writing on separate pieces of paper. I had already occupied most of my one page
Yeah.
with just lists of things that were together. So
Okay.
I was trying to make the best use of the little remaining paper I had.
Okay. What about the other issues?
Well, when we gave the paper, you said, on the first sheet we could write this, so I assumed the other two pages were
Okay. What you get to know is that everybody else had 2 full sheets of paper and the other 12.
okay.
But you didn't know that.
The other one.
Yeah. Well, you had 6
Yeah.
and 6 on the first page.
Yeah.
And the second and third page, each had 6.
Okay.
Okay. So you used what resources you had available, and you wanted to keep some in reserve. Because you didn't know necessarily what was coming. Okay. So what did you notice about putting those at the top?
Right, and those about putting them in.
The order you put them in, the ones that are facing up, the ones that are down.
No, those all have that.
Okay. So there wasn't any plan, you just knew they got to the liquid cups,
Yeah,
and whatever order,
but my objective is to make sure that no more than one, but at least one has it all of the
okay. Is that perfect, right?
Sure.
Does anybody else wish it was that simple? What's that? Okay. Wouldn't have enough fighting. Okay. So you got your 16 in the cups there. Do you feel anything? Do you experience anything, different insights that's coming up with your 6 and 6?
Coming up, yes, I think it was easy to come up with the 6. Particularly the first 6, because it's something that I think, particularly as I was driving over there, that it became apparent to me about. I think there's an underlying thread that connects all of these things. Yeah. Okay. And it just became apparent to me as I read over here. I guess it's funny because I think a lot of I wrote down attributes or characteristics.
Right.
That,
What are your 6?
what are my 6? Okay, so this is no coincidence that they became apparent to me through the process of driving.
Yeah.
Because driving brings out. What's that?
Yeah.
Maybe I was. Maybe I
You're
was.
totally talking about it.
Yeah.
As soon as you came in, you got your own process, and you got to get your stuff and get in speed with everybody else, which is perfectly fine for you. And showing up when you get to and putting things in the order that you see everybody else do it, that's fine by me. It totally works great.
Yeah. I guess maybe I could have written my homework right, but then I'm frequently late to places, and so maybe that's something that I've got to just make that read with it. I knew I was going to do that next week.
We talked about it.
Right.
Did you say something along the lines of, oh crap, are you ready to files?
No. No, I think I was about as late as I was based on frequency.
Cool.
I ever since the earlier session that we had, I forgot what it was called,
The honor test.
honor this stuff. I've felt differently since then. And I haven't been, I guess I haven't been concerned with the findings as much as allowing and trying to do a particular kind of need or yeah, I guess part of it is just like a certain awareness focused on. I became aware of this pattern that I seems to come up for me every time I'm driving. Most of it's negative, and then it just dawned on me that this is a very long-standing pattern, and I was trying to trace it back. And I committed to recollection of it, and it goes back quite a lot.
Yeah. Awareness, though, is that something you need? Especially if this pattern already.
Of this particular pattern, it's not something I haven't noticed before. I've noticed it, but I haven't really given much importance to it. And it seemed important to me.
So what changed?
I don't know exactly. I just know how my experience is different. That is that it seems to me to hold the key to something that is worth my attention trace it back to its origin and address it.
So we would have taken 1 second from original. So if you remember.
I will as things as additional things. I think right now it's just it's not just like yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to?
Sure.
Do you want to kind of by yourself?
Sure.
Okay. So does anybody else wish that I just kind of in school? Okay. No? Okay. So as the experiment progressed, as the awareness progressed, we each got a different experience, and we got to experience each other's experience. So we're in this abundance of experience, and we still see the uniqueness within each of us.
The same behavior, the way that I have it, that I'm noticing.
Just go over. Nice. So the string, you can contain those types of it, or you can do something different. So while he's working on that, is it fairly clear what we've done so far in your own personal experience? Or would you like additional input from me? What's going on? Okay. Cool. I'm prepared for that. So, what's that? I thought you'd get to that. So this is your configuration right now. This is where you're at. Contained by that string, or not. In whatever order it is, and you got your experience however you got it. How do you incorporate this awareness of these aspects that define you and the string and the rest of this? How do you actually apply that to your life? How could you teach this to someone else? Is it as simple as sharing the lessons you learned? Do you have to show them the experiment? Okay. Well,
You don't have to change yourself, but you can like create some balance for yourself, right?
okay.
And
So,
that will inspire someone else to do the same.
yeah. So, but do we go straight from experience to change? You sure? Action reflection is a good one. Sometimes we just choose right in the flow of things to say we're changing. But before we change, we have to choose. We have to choose to have something different. So, choice. Action. Then change comes somewhere down the line, not necessarily in that order. So becoming aware of it, we're becoming aware right now, increasingly aware of your patterns and people around you and your influence and your experiencing. And we're reflecting. And we're making a choice. So, let's make a choice. In your configuration of 6, what gets to go? In your current configuration of 6. That's an excellent question. And that's one of the reasons why threshold change is one of the ones that's difficult to deal with. The reason that I gave you the string is that string, defining who you are, can only encompass 6 additional aspects outside of your core essence. The reason that change is difficult is something has got to modify or be left behind or something to make room for the new thing. And that's been my experience with it. That's the reason that we feel this string tugging. It's going to break. We're going to lose ourselves. This isn't going to work. That string is only designed to hold that much energy in space. Now, I started with 6. Yours could be 10 or 12 or 100 million, whatever it is. But the concept is true regardless of the scale. But you did bring up a good point. So we really have to leave anything behind. Okay? It's a good point, right? Can we just balance it? Can we figure out some way to make it work? In my experience, something's always got to give for you to be defined by a different set. And the reason for that reason for that is this is who you're currently defined by. And you want to even just move to here, you can still incorporate that center cup, but 3 of those get to be left behind. Is this true? Because to me, in my life, it's rang true. And when I got the visualization, it resonated true with me. But is this true for you?
So like in keeping this, it's like humor is she lets that go completely. She's control and use her point.
Okay.
But you know that changes to it.
Right.
Maybe I'll all of those 6 cups are contained within the metal ones, you're still taking them. That's
Like Jamie's mom. Or she just put all of them into one. That's a possibility, right? But the reason,
People lay for a while, create space for something new. Once you have balance that, they come back to you. Shape things around.
absolutely. So, see how this experiment you can say, wait a minute, so these are the parameters I'm operating on. I have this much string. And having this much string, it is who I am, it defines who I am, it contains who I am within an orderly and flowing and abundant environment. However you choose to experience that string, however you choose to experience each of those cups. Jamie came up with several options on how to make that happen. And Lou, you also several options on how to make this happen. But the key is reflecting on each of these, becoming aware of them, experiencing them, reflecting, making a choice. Now, you wrote down 6 aspects of who you want to be. Are any of them who you currently are? Which ones? Okay, so you had 2 that were the same. Okay. So you wanted bigger cups. One possibility, right?
Some of these are either really similar or they would be part of each other. You know, like,
So they could be incorporated into the same cup. What's that?
all of mine is
Okay.
these are all aspects of what a warrior is.
Okay.
And I put that word on my first
Cool. So now might be a good time to document your experiences so far, because I just talked about leaving part of you behind and flowing into who you want to be, and how that being different from who you currently are. But you've all made some pretty profound and unique insights on what that actually means. And the reason that I encourage notes so much is the emotional experience isn't usually on a logical timetable. So recalling it and sharing it is not necessarily as easily done as logic or this experiment or other things along those lines. So determine what configuration you are choosing to be, because it's about choice. And if, like Jamie, you're who you want to be and who you choose to be are the same, then you could be complete for him. If you have difficulty defining who you are, or you don't like some of the aspects of who you are, then you may reflect on friends, coworkers, community, to assist you in reflecting on who you are to them and what you bring to their space. Does anybody want more string? I don't have that much string.
For me, some of the things that I want to be
Mhm.
are things that I don't pick up to people who are like very,
How's that feel? Embracing it, celebrating it, sharing it, trusting it, remembering it. Take them down, pass it around. Box of Kleenex society when things are getting done.
you know what, though, like, maybe I think I want to be. And I'm like, if I go to this, then I wouldn't get this.
Hmm. Well, but also, just a remote observation, look at the state of the papers of who you are versus who you want to be. You did. You did all sorts of stuff to make it happen. Shove them all in cups and squish them together and all sorts of fun. Now it's an observation, and whether it means anything or not is for you to choose. But that is one of the beauties of having community, having friends, having all these unique perspectives, is that my observation, your friend's observations, are often unique and different to what ours are. In consciousness, in the psychology fields, we've got this little 4 levels of awareness in this. And excuse the words, their choice, not mine. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. That's the flow of awareness in the psychology field. Pretty self-explanatory, but one of the questions that comes up is how do you move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence? It's a really nice way. What's that?
Yoga. Spirit.
Well, don't the people around you have a very unique perspective of who you are? Couldn't you just ask them? It's like, hey, could I work on it?
What if they're crazy?
That's where you use discernment.
Well, if you have people around you and they're crazy, then what is that?
Yes.
It's like those house toys so that other people wouldn't have them so bother.
What's that?
You probably have some people that you know, you try to avoid listen to it, but you have inputs that the state people wouldn't have, you cross it out.
Right.
And see things differently.
Well, and this is where you get to make the choice. That string can incorporate just these 6 aspects of you, or it can incorporate new aspects, and new reflections, and new facets to each of these aspects of who you are that you get from the world around you, or reflections made in yoga, or soccer, or driving, or class, or whatever. And by choosing, because it just comes down to choice. We can be happy, we can be miserable, we can be abundant, we can be scarce. It's really choice. And we have education and community and awareness and everything else that comes to it. But if you want to change, find out what's holding you back.
You know, you don't want to feel it.
Then you don't have to right when you're ready.
Or you can push
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my-
Well, and that's a good point, because fear and judgment and pain and, wait, I don't want to leave stuff behind. And all the rest of the stuff comes up when we're at that threshold of change. Now, granted, each of you had your own experience, but we were all here, and we all had feedback for each other. So you could ask for it, you could receive it when it's given, or you could do it on your own. And those are all choices. The main reason that we come to a space like this is to remember that we aren't on this planet by ourselves. And regardless of the uniqueness of our experiences, we have commonalities. We've walked similar roads. We've had similar experiences. And if we're open to sharing, if we're open to being a little bit vulnerable, and displaying a little bit of trust, and courage, and self-empowerment, or empowerment from the people around us, then we can cross that threshold of change. Does everybody feel complete? Is there more you'd like to go over?
More or less, so I'm aware of it. There's been times in my life where something isn't working for me that I think is true and stuff that I like. It just naturally fall away. It's kind of come to this place. But the way the cycle works is those things that have always been part of you will incorporate. That's the way it mentioned. Like, there were times where I've been so busy trying to survive, I don't have time to contribute. So I let that fall away so that I can be stable and, abundant. And then I tend to realize later on, actually, if I bring my creation back in, that's what will make me stable. So I know these this creation grows bigger. It's space as well. So giving away your thinking or prison yourself for a while to get sanctified in something else sometimes actually can make you more.
Well, and I am a very generous giver as well. And I learned a lot of lessons about giving too much. And too much is a self-defined thing, because only I know how much is too much. And oftentimes I know how much is too much because I was way past that point. So a saying that stuck with me, and I use it to assist other givers: you can't serve from an empty vessel. If you have nothing to give, then you have nothing to give. Now, does that mean that you have to wait until it flows from you? Sometimes. But another aspect of being a giver is receiving. Allowing other people to fill your vessel. Allowing compassion and abundance and joy and community and whatever else fills your vessel to flow into your space, not just out from it. And find yourself in a space with people that get that and are wanting to give to you and receiving it. And that's one of the toughest things about being a nurturer, about being a giver, is receiving. Because it's been a big part of indoctrination, and many, many different philosophies say that you shouldn't be selfish, you shouldn't hold on to your things, you shouldn't hoard whatever application or labels they put to it. Nice. In exchange, giving, and receiving. So allow that into your space. And if you get to learn, if you don't know what you don't know, or if you're aware that you don't know how to do that thing, step into trust, step into courage, step into joy, and connection, compassion, and whatever else works for you. Take time for just you. Nobody else has to be around. Take time for just you, give to you, and see how much more you have to give, and how much more connected you can be. And it's a fun little game that the emotions and logic like to play, because they're like, well, we're taking all this time for you, oh, they're going to run out of stuff, and oh, we just have to get more the next time. Listen to that, reflect on it, give it whatever credence you choose to, but give to yourself, receive. It'll make it a lot easier to cross that threshold. It'll make it a lot easier to take inventory. Where am I right now? What do I deserve in my life? What do I want in my life? What do I choose to bring into my life? Everybody feel complete? Any additional contributions? Any questions on how to apply this into their life or teach to their friends? And this will be available on YouTube afterwards, so that you can reflect, share it with your friends. Wait, what was that part? I was in another place when I went over that, so it'll be available to you. What's that?
Brain vacation.
Yes. And brain vacations happen a lot when we're dealing with emotions, because being that much in our body can feel painful sometimes. So feel free to hold on to whatever papers you get to. I really do appreciate class reviews, because they give me insights on the direction and the content and the different aspects that you would like to have incorporated. While you're doing those and finishing up your own things, we are having a really amazing family-friendly event this Saturday. From 4 to 8 p.m. and it'll be right out here in Breezeway, right here in the space. And we encourage you to bring family, friends, random people that you can make friends with on the street, whatever. We're going to have a DJ and readers and aerialists, and it's going to be an amazing shindig. Fashion show, face painting, all those things that Jamie's saying right now. And so it's an amazing event to create awareness in the community. We're also taking donations for the space, because in order for this sanctuary to stay open, in order for the practitioners to have a space to share their gifts, we get to make rent. And we've got about 500 left to get to the end of the month. So every little bit helps. Donations for classes, bringing people in. It's a great way to donate. Sharing this with friends, getting community involved with it. Checking in on Facebook, social media. As much as there's drama and a bunch of other fun stuff on it, when used as a tool for light work, it's very effective. It connects people. It brings awareness, it brings joy. Facebook check-in, do whatever you get to do in the space to really connect to it. And also, if you aren't aware of all the classes that we offer, we've got a schedule up front to give you a general idea of what's being offered. Our schedule is shifting, so we're going to have more and different class offerings, but that'll give you a good idea of the availability of the energy in the space. Also, if you're very passionate about a topic and you have so much to share on it, I open up the venue to other presenters. So long as they can honor the principles of emotional think tank, open sharing, sanctuary, no judgments, that are externalized per se. And it's a community venue as well. So if you do have a topic that you're just really jazzed about, then go ahead and submit it. Let's create it and connect people and share your story. I feel like I covered everything. And then I crowdsourced the topic. So this week's was my own label on it, but the aspects of it were brought up in the crowdsourcing for the weekly topic. So we usually crowdsource that on Monday, and by Tuesday have the event posted, whichever way we go. So feel free to submit content that way as well, and just share whatever you're going through, because I've got about 3,500 people on Facebook that I received the interview from and flow to, and several hundred are experiencing very similar weeks, energetically, emotionally, life doing what it does, and they aren't necessarily aware of it. So that's what these topics are for, is, hey, we've got life, problems, issues, whatever. Let's find solutions. Let's figure them out together. Let's share experiences. Anything else, Jane? Cool. So, yeah, I appreciate all of you coming and sharing your experiences. Feel free to keep making notes as stuff comes through to you. That's part of the abundance, is you will have an abundance of stories and emotions and awarenesses come to you as you start to internalize these things. You need the last time. You got your own. Chocolate, granola, salty goodness.
Oh, really?
Nice. More community.
I'm a little glad we think about this.
Here in my class, that's also that resonates with your solar plexus chakra, which is just too much.
It's your own virtual sunshine.
It is sunstone, and that's tiger's eyes. It's fierce.
Okay. So thank you all for coming. Appreciated all your input. And we'll stop the recording.